like Chumash and Rashi. Torah portion, Parshas Tetzaveh. We're the second reading. Let's get right into it.
Page 581.
581 in the Chita's book. We are in Shmois, chapter 28, verse number 13.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Asisa Mishpatzai Zohov. So we're speaking here about the ephod. The ephod, which we learned yesterday, is this right here, the outer garment that holds the breastplate. So now we're going into details about the golden settings. Vasisa mishpatzei zav, and you shall make. 13 is just mishpatzei is a setting zahav of gold. Rashi in 13. Vasisa mishpatzei. You shall make settings. Miyu mishpatzei shtayim. The minimum. It doesn't say how many, but the minimum amount of, when you speak in the plural term, is 2. At this point, the Torah is only explaining to us only part of that which is needed for. And when we will deal with the choshen is the breastplate, then the Torah will complete the explanation of the settings. But here it's just giving brief. Okay, that's for the setting. Now we go on to verse 14. Which verse 14 now, Ushtei sharsharos, and 2 chains, Zahav are made of gold, Tahar pure gold, Migbalais taseh oisam, you shall, at the edge, you will make them. Migbalais comes from the word gvul, which means boundary, the edge. Taseh oisam, make them. Maseh avos, it is a work of avos, which is braided work. 2 braided chains, and you shall place it al sharsher as a sharsher as a oives ala mishpatzes, and these chains of cable will be placed by the setting. Where the 1 second. Here we have. This is the chain, and it's placed in the setting over here. There's a setting on the strap and a setting on the choshen, on the breastplate. Okay, Rashi. Sharsharais, zahav, pure gold chain. Shelis is a chain. So he just translates it into the usual term that's used for a chain, shelis. Migbalais, at the edge, l'seif gvula choshen taseh oisam, at the edge of the choshen you should make it. Right. In other words, not in the middle of the breastplate. Right. That the chain goes at the edge of the breastplate to the 2 ends. Maseh avos. So maseh avos, it's a braiding cable work. Maseh kliyas chutin. It's a braiding strands of metal. V'loy maseh nikavim kvolim k'oisan she'oisan levayres. And it's not work of holes or bends that are chains that are made for cisterns. So there's chains that are used for drawing water. I don't know what that means exactly, but something in the process of in drawing waters for cisterns for pits that hold water. But rather it's made cables that are made for incense pans that are called incensers in Old French. Okay. Minnesata sharsharos, and you'll place these chains al oives of the cables, asiyas maise oves that are made of cable work of this chain work, right? Al mishpatzos halalu, you put them into the settings, as we showed in the picture, the settings that are of the straps of the ephod. And this is not the place where the command is to make these chains. And also, it's not a place where we're commanded to fix it. So Rashi says, it's interesting because it says over here, tase, which means you shall make. What does that mean when you say you shall make? It means it's a positive commandment. You should do this, right? So it seems like it is a command because of the wording. But Rashi's saying it's not where we're commanded to do this, right? Likewise, the word, and you shall put them, is not an imperative, meaning it's not a command, but it's in future tense. Because when we will deal with the choshen, with the breastplate, the Torah returns and gives the command there concerning the making and the fixing of it. So then why is it written here? Right? If it's only later on we're commanded, so what's the point of writing it over here? Like, you're going to repeat it, you're going to say it. So why is it written here? So it says Rashi, it's only written here to let you know part of the need of the settings that he commands to make with the ephod, because of the and it's written over here to tell you that these settings are required by you. That you'll make the chain at the edge of the choshen, you should put them on these settings. Well, I must say I really don't understand what Rashi is coming to say. I mean, I understand he's saying it's not a command over here, so then, therefore, why is the Torah telling you? Just to let you know that it's required these settings, that the chains should be at the edge of the choshen. Okay, guess what? You know what we're doing now? We're going to be now discussing the choshen, the breastplate. So maybe with that we'll get a little greater clarity. Verse 15. V'asistan, you shall make choshen mishpat. You shall make a breastplate, a choshen of judgment. Maseh choshen. It's a work of an artisan. Kemaisa ephod, like that work of the ephod, right? What was the ephod, if you remember? The outside, like somewhat of an apron, right? That holds the choshen. Tasena, you shall make it. Zahov, it's going to be made from gold. Techeles, from turquoise wool. Bargaman, and purple wool. Veselash shani, and scarlet wool. Veshesh mazar, and twisted linen. Tase oisai, you shall make it. Okay, Rashi in 15. Choshen mishpat. A choshen of judgment. Shemechaper al kilkul hadin. So Rashi explains, what does it mean over here that it is a judgment? Because it's going to bring an atonement for a miscarriage of judgment. That's one reason why it's called the choshen of judgment. And whenever a judgment will be done inappropriately, this choshen, this breastplate, will bring an atonement for it, right? An alternative explanation of why it's called mishpat. Mishpat shemivar devare, because it will substantiate its statement. And it promises that it's made through the Urim and Tumim that are part of the Chosh Mishpat will come true. And in Old French, there's a mot. Mishpat mishamesh sholish l'shonis. The word mishpat has three meanings. Divrei tainus b'alei din, the words of claims of litigants, right? And now there's judgment between the two litigants and their words, their claims that they make. That's one word, what mishpat means. Gemara din, the verdict is also mishpat, judgment. V'aynish adin, im aynish misa, im aynish malkus, im aynish mamay. And then the execution of punishment by its punishment of death or the punishment of lashes, the punishment of payment of money. Wow. So, in other words, you see, mishpat is the claims that are made by the litigants, is the judgment, the verdict, and the punishment. All those words are used in the same word of mishpat. Here, though, it means to substantiate the words that explains and substantiates its words. In other words, the Choshen Mishpat, it was used by the Kohen Gadol when he's the one who wore it. That, for example, should you go to war, not go to war? Should you, all the, in other words, to substantiate that which was being asked, it would substantiate the words of what was being asked.
Also the tribes. It will shine which tribe to do what.
We're speaking about the word mishpat. Rashi is explaining the word mishpat, not explaining about the he's not explaining that though. He's explaining the word mishpat. He's not explaining the stones, right? He's not explaining that. He's explaining the word mishpat here. Okay, kemaise ephod, like the work of the ephod. Maise choshev chamesh minim, the work of the artisan that's made from 5 different materials. Right, just like the ephod was also made from 5 different materials. So. Oh, 1 second. Yeah. Likewise is made for it. Okay. Let's go to 16. Yeah. Ravua, yeh kofel. It's going to be square and folded. Square and folded.
Can you scroll up, Rabbi?
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Square when folded. So here, let me show a picture. It's not so clear over here, but you can see like it's doubled. You can see the backside, you can see like it's a page over there, like when you fold, right? So it's folded, so it's going to be square when it's folded. Okay. Zeres arkoi, v'zeres rachboi. A zeres is its length, and a zeres is its width. Let's see Rashi. Zeres arkoi, v'zeres rachboi. This is a term that we haven't had yet. Right. Kaful, after it's folded, umutoloi lefanav, and it's placed before the Kohen Gadol on his chest, keneged liboy, opposite his heart, shenemar v'hayu alev Aaron, as it says it should be on Aaron's heart. And the choshen hangs from the shoulder straps of the ephod, which come from behind him over his shoulders, and bent over. And it goes down a bit over his shoulders. And the choshen hangs by the chains and the rings, as is explained. Shortly, we're going to have that explained shortly. So let's see further. Okay. Uh, 17. Umalesa by melua 7, and you shall fill it with filling stones. Melua means filling. Filling stones. Arba turim. There are 4 rows. Right? Tur adam. Pitma be'eredes v'tura echad. So, 4 rows, a row of Odem, Pitma, and Barekis in 1 row. So here's the picture, right? Here's 4 rows and 3 across. 4 down, it's like I mentioned, it's the tribes, it's the gems that were put in there, right? Rashi in 17, Malaya's boy, it shall fill it. Al Shem Sha'avanim and Meluz Guma is a because the stones filled the indentation of the settings that were fixed for them. That's why they're called filling stones, because they're filling the indentation that's made on the breastplate. Okay, now we're going to get the second and third and fourth row, right? So the Torah Sheni, the second row, Neifech, Sapir, a sapphire. Sapphire is sapphire, right? The Yahalai, and a diamond. Yahalam is diamond. 19, Hatorah Shlishi, the third row, Leshem, Zircon, Shvoi, Agat, I don't know what that is. The Achlama. Verse number 20, the fourth row, Hatorah Sh'aravi, Tarshish, the Shoiham, Onyx, the Yashva, and Jasper. Mishbetzai Zav Yu Bimalivu Osam. And they are encased in gold in their mountings. Rashi in 20, Mishbet Zav Yu, there shall be a gold setting. Vatura Meluyim Mukafim Mishbet Zav, means the rows with their fillings shall be surrounded by a golden setting. Ba'omek Shir, she is Male Ba'ovi Evan, having the depth of the measure that will be filled by the thickness of the stone. That's what it means, filling. Milui Ovyan Shalavanim, that the size of the stone will be, the thickness of the stone shall be filled in that setting. Shall the depth of the settings be? So in other words, whatever the setting is, so it's going to be flat with that setting, the stone. Okay? Is that clear? Good. Okay. Let's go to 21. Vahavanim, and the stones, Tiyena, they shall be, al shmois, on the names, Bnei Israel, of the sons of Israel, Shtei Misrei, which are 12, al shmoisam, on their name, Petuchei Chaisam, they're going to be, according to their names, like the engraving of Ish al Shmoi, each person by his name. Tiyena will be, Shnei Masar Shabbat will be the 12 tribes. Rashi. Ish al Shmoi, each man by his name. Keseda Toldosum, Seder Avani. What does that mean? To say the order of the tribes, right? The stones will be in order of that which they, in the order that they were born, right? Oidim leRuvain, Pitma leShimon, v'chein kulam. So Oidim is Ruvain, Pitma is Shimon, and so on and so forth. All right. L'chaim.
Chaim.
All right. 22. And shall make the chayshin shasharais, the chains. Remember Rashi, right? This is the verse that Rashi said. Here's the command, because we just spoke about earlier already about making the chains. Now Rashi said that before that was not the command. This is the command. I'm still not clear on that, Rashi. Must be honest. Okay, you know what? I think I got it. In the previous verse, it says, and not that, and you shall make. It says, taset, it will be made. That's future. So then why does the Torah tell us that if it's no need to? Because we're going to learn it now. So Rashi's, I think there's a detail there that's not going to be mentioned here. Let's see. You follow the Hebrew? Right? Taseh means you shall make. You will make. I'll make, right? That's a future tense, right? So that's why it's not a command over there. Wow. Okay.
What would be imperative?
Vasisa. Here. The word what we have here in 22. And you shall, and you shall, you Vasisa. And you shall make. Not that you will make. Taseh means will make. Kind of, Tas is more future, is in future tense. That's what Rashi said, right? It's future tense. Okay. So you shall, the Chayshin shall make a chain. Gavulois, that is on the edge. Maaseh avos, it's a work of chain. Braided like work, or here it says cable work, different translations. Zav Tahar, from pure gold. Rashi in 22. Al Chayshin, for the Chayshin, Bishvil Chayshin means understood over here, not on it, but means for it. The Kavam Betaboisav, that you set them with rings, as we will be explained in verse 24. Lashon Sharshe the chains, Lashon Sharshe Elon. It's interesting, now he explains it means the roots of trees. The word shorish means roots. But what is it talking about? Rashi translated before, shalshelis, which means chain. So it's an unusual word to use for a chain. Because a word, like the shorish of a word, means the root of the word, right? But here we're saying it means chain, right? So Rashi explained before that that's what it means over here, but it literally means roots of a tree. Ma'achzikim la'ila, which hold the tree, la'achos le'itoke ba'aris, in order that it should be held firm, fixed in the ground. So now Rashi explains why it's called here a chain, that the word root. Why? Here too, these chains are to hold the chayshin. That should be hung on the ephod. Right? That's why it's called sharsharos, which means roots. It's to root it down, to hold it down. Just like roots of a tree hold down the tree. And there are the two chains that were mentioned earlier in the section on the settings. The Menachem, the son of Saruk, who was who specialized in grammatics, also related it to roots. And the second ray, she said, is superfluous. As in the mem in Shilshaim, the mem sheberekam, and Raya is Devara, but I don't agree with his words. Elishasher is Veloshin Ivris Kishalshalis Veloshin Mishnah. But Shasher in the Hebrew language of the Torah is an equivalent to Shalshelis in the language of the Mishnah. Aha. So Rashi is saying, because we're talking about biblical Hebrew here, right? So there's Mishnaic Hebrew from the Mishnah, which is the oral Torah, right? That's we're talking about the 2nd century of the Common Era that was written. So we're talking about more 1,000 years later, right? So it's a different form of Hebrew. There, the word shalshelis means chain. But in the Torah, we don't have the word shalshelis. We have the word sharsharos, which means chain. He's just saying it just means change. It doesn't mean that's how he explains it. Okay. Gavlus at the edge. This is the edge of the chain is at the edge of the chayshin, as we said earlier. The word gvul means edge, and in Old French is some meal. Yeah, is that current French? No. Okay. Ma'aseh is cable work. Ma'aseh kaliya is of braiding. Okay, 23. Okay. 23. Vasisa, and you shall make again a commandment for the choshen. What should you make? Shtei tabois zahav, 2 rings that are made of gold. And asata shtei tabois, and you should put the 2 rings al shnei choshen on the 2 edges of the choshen. Right here, there's 2 rings on the 2 edges. Right, there's 2 rings on the top of the chain and the bottom of the chain. Right, so now we're talking about the bottom of the chain on the choshen, on the breastplate itself. 2 rings at the edges. Rashi in 23. Al choshen, here too means the tzarech choshen for the needs of the choshen. Kedei lekavam, in order to set them into it. And it's not possible to say from the outset that the ring should be fashioned upon it. Then why the Torah repeat and so you should put the 2 rings at the end of the choshen. Aren't they already put there? In other words, it's coming to say that this is the for it, not on it from the beginning. Likewise, when we're speaking about the chains, likewise. On 2 edges of the choshen, the 2 corners opposite the neck, the yaminis v'smedus on the right side and the left side of the choshen. The face, the shoulder strap of the ephod. Okay. 24. Oh boy. All right. And you should put the 2 golden cables on the 2 rings at the end of the choshen. 24. And you should put the 2 golden cables. These are the chains at the edge of that are written above. It didn't say, but the verse didn't clarify where they are fixed on the choshen. It clarifies it should insert them into the rings. Earlier we didn't speak about the rings that are on the choshen earlier. Now we're speaking about the rings on the choshen. That's what's added over here. But say that so you should know certainly the same chains as the ones mentioned earlier. In the Parsha Pekude, the Torah doesn't command the fashion that the priestly garments were carried out. They were not mentioned twice. Here it's mentioning it, so you might think it's 2 different chains, but Rashi is saying it's 2 because first we call it sharsharos, and now we're calling it avoises zahav, which are cables, like cable-like. Right, braided cable-like, right? So they're one and the same. That's what Rashi is saying. Okay, 25. Ve'ez shtei ha'avoises titen al shtei ha'mishvatzois v'satis agnis v'se'efan al mul panav. The 2 ends of the 2 cables, you should put it on the 2 settings, and you should put it on the shoulder straps of the ephod towards its face. The 2 ends, shtei ha'avoises of the 2 cables, shtei reishim shall call echad ve'echad, the 2 ends of both of them. Titan and Shtei al Mishpatzos, you should put them into the 2 settings. Those are the same settings that we spoke about earlier, right, in verse 12 and 13. of the Choshen in the passage of the Ephod. V'lo perish kol tzarkim is mekemim. And earlier we did not explain why they were needed nor their location. You know what the problem is when you show a picture and you show exactly the way it looks and what's done, so it becomes very clear quickly. Now what Rashi is doing is explaining the verse, verbally, not pictorially. So it's something like that we've already seen in the picture, and now he's just explaining it in the verses. Okay, we're actually going to stop over here so we can go to Tanya and go to joy. We can learn about joy. Well, okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, folks.